Hi, everybody. Hopefully you are at home and at least hanging out comfortably and just kind of hanging out. So this is our first training group centric meeting for ZAP. So this will be for just the IM1 families. And you're gonna see me look over here to my left a little bit every once in a while. One, just so that I've got a couple of notes, and two, just so that I can see the chat function, so that if any of you are watching and want to, oh God, there goes my volume. I apologize. Fix that right now, I hope. There we go. So I'll be watching the chat function on my second screen, as well as a couple of my notes, just to make sure that I don't forget anything. So welcome, happy Wednesday. Just in case some of you don't know who I am, I'm Shari Twidwell. I'm the head age group coach at ZAP, and I'm also the primary coach for 3 different groups, for IM1, which is the group that I'm talking about tonight, as well as the age group and the pre-senior 1 group. Just a little bit about my background in case you don't know me very well. I grew up here in the South Bay. Deanne is my sister. Jeff is my brother-in-law. Those of you who know who Brennan is my nephew. Grew up here in Portuguese Bend. My parents still live in the house where we grew up. Grew up swimming here with my sister. We actually grew up swimming at the Miralest pool for a team called SPPY, which was sponsored by the San Pedro Peninsula YMCA. That team no longer exists, but a lot of folks who grew up swimming there are still around. I swam for a little while at PV High while I went to PV High, and then I went to a boarding school back east where there wasn't a pool, so there was no swim team. It was a tough choice, but went to the school that didn't have the pool, and so wound up playing a bunch of other sports and doing a lot of theater, which is where I get my voice when I project a little much. I started teaching swimming the year actually that I stopped swimming competitively in high school. Came home every summer and took over my sister's swimming lesson business. When I was living up in Northern California, I got back into competitive swimming myself for a master's team up in Davis, and fell back in love with the sport, and was working as a lobbyist up there and a legislative aide up in Sacramento, and eventually made my way back down here to come back and work with Deanne. I had done a little bit of coaching before, and decided to come back and join her again. And at this point, so I've got a bachelor's in English and a master's in social work, which means I will correct your kids' grammar in a very loving and nurturing way. And I've been coaching at this point, coaching or teaching swimming for almost 25 years. That's about it for me. In terms of this training group, the IM1 training group, the IM1 group is sort of our beginning, totally competitive age group on our premier team. We do have our stroke academies 1 and 2. Those guys are on sort of an abridged schedule in terms of competition. We're still putting them into our squad meets, that kind of thing. They're still learning their strokes. Some of those kids might not yet be legal in all 4 strokes. Maybe they just have a couple things to iron out. Once they're in IM1, they are legal in everything, and they are good to go. They are hammering down. They are ready to make a significantly larger commitment. They're sort of the first major step on our premier team. The kids are going to find that they are asked to make a larger time commitment in terms of practice. Their practices are longer, they are more frequent. They are going to be asked to communicate more. They are going to be asked to compete more. They are going to be asked to just participate more. We're going to ask more of them, and we're going to ask more of you as well. We're going to ask more of your time and your commitment level. It's sort of the second rung on a long ladder that we hope that you'll stay on for a very, very long time. I thought that I would go through sort of what we, sorry, let me back up. I do have one parent who is out of town, and she emailed me a couple of questions that she wanted me to make sure that I covered during this time. And so I will make sure that I get those covered as I go. I think I sort of worked them into what I'm doing here. So if you hear me say something kind of random or kind of a little bit off topic, it may be just because I'm covering one of her questions. In terms of the kids, when the kids come to practice, they should arrive in, and you all know this, in athletic shoes and socks, and in clothes, as well as in their suits. So they're always going to do something on land, and then they're always going to do something in the pool, barring any sort of bizarre, unforeseen circumstances. The reason that we do land stuff is, one, just because PE is so lacking these days, and we really want to get them the body awareness and the coordination that they aren't getting in schools, but also they need that, and they need the land stuff for just general coordination in the water. If they can't do it on land, they probably can't do it in the water, and so we're working hard to cover it in both places. We also get them a more dynamic warm-up that way. We get them a little bit better warmed up that way, which sort of allows us to prevent more injuries we've found over the years. And we've had some recommendations from different professionals who work in those fields who have told us that this is kind of the way to go. So we're trusting them and working with them to design better programs every year and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to keep the kids healthy as long as we possibly can. The kids should, and they have been told this a number of times, but never hurts to say it again, the kids should always be carrying their own equipment. This is a big deal, and even though it seems like it's not a big deal, like, just grab their stuff, it's cold, it's dark, we're in a hurry. One of the biggest things that we teach here at ZAP, and we teach it all the way through, and from the very beginning, from Stroke Academy 1, we're teaching character, and the biggest piece of that character is personal responsibility. As they get into IM1, they are old enough to carry their own things. They're big enough, they're strong enough, and it ties into a much larger picture. It's super, super important that they are being held responsible for their own stuff. We are starting out talking with them and getting them to talk to us more. I don't hold them responsible for transporting themselves to practice. If they're late because there was a transportation issue, that's certainly not their fault. I do want them to tell me. If they're not going to be at practice because they can't get there through no fault of their own, it's no fault of their own, that's fine. If they can't get to practice because they have 16 other activities going on and they're 8 years old, that's totally fine. We encourage that as well. But I do want to know. So if you're wondering whether I want to know if your child isn't going to be at practice, the answer is yes. I would prefer to hear it from them. If they don't know ahead of time, then it would be great to get a text from either you or them. I totally recognize that most of our kids don't have phones at this age. Totally fine. If they can use your phone, that's fine. If you want to text me, that's fine. a bunch of you, hopefully you all have my phone number now after getting the email tonight about this meeting. If you don't, or if you, for whatever reason, don't have it, just let me know. I'm happy to give it to you. You can also just drop me an email. If there's going to be a regular day that your swimmer is going to miss, like, hey, Trey's going to miss every Tuesday for baseball practice, whatever it is, that's no problem. Just drop me a line, let me know. That way I don't worry. I can account for that, and I can also plan for it. I do plan practices based on who I know is going to be there, or who I at least think is going to be there. Very, very helpful if I know certain kids are or are not going to be around. It also helps me not to worry while I'm in practice. So if I know that you're not going to be there, then I don't worry that you're stranded on the side of the road somewhere. The greatest thing about the kids telling me that they're not going to be at practice is that they get in the habit of telling me something that's not an earth-shattering ordeal. It's super important that the kids learn how to communicate. Communication is a skill, and communicating with adults is never easy. It's not something that we're born with. It's something that we develop. And the more and the faster that they can develop that, the better. The more that they can develop a good rapport with adults, the better. They can be better at communicating with their parents. They can be better at communicating with their teachers. They can be better at communicating with their coaches on all of their teams. And that is super important to us. It becomes critical later on when they are senior swimmers. But it's too late to teach them then. So we teach them starting at the very, very beginning. I want them to be able to tell me something that they know that is kind of a bummer, but is not the end of the world. Hey, I'm not going to be able to come to practice tomorrow. Yeah, I have soccer practice. Not the end of the world. I will, make a frowny face, and I will feign sadness, but I will not, beat them up or, anything to that effect. Tracy Sorich, I see that you figured out the chat function. Good work. Well done. At any rate, yes, I want to hear if you're not going to be at practice. The kids should be carrying their own equipment. If the kids come to me and they say, I don't have my fins today, and I ask them why, and then they tell me, well, my mom didn't pack them, the answer from me is going to be, well, that's not your mom's job, that's your job. Or my mom didn't put them in my bag, and so they're in my mom's car. Well, no, that's your job to put them in your bag. Your mom's job is to put you in the car. Your job is to put your fins in your bag and put your bag in the car. It's not always easy, and it's often very difficult, especially when it's cold, to be patient and allow them to kind of struggle with their things, especially when they've got school stuff or other things that they're also lugging with them, and when they're wet and tired, that sort of deal. But it is, I promise you, worth it. I think I've covered all of that. I do want them coming to every practice that we offer. And I'm sorry about that. That is one of my cats. I do want them coming to every practice that we offer if they possibly can. If they are involved in another activity, or if they, for whatever reason, they cannot come to a practice, again, not the end of the world, but I do want to know why. I want them to know why. And I want them to be participating in their own schedules. So I want them to understand why they're not coming, and then be able to communicate that to me. I think that's about it in terms of practice. I will get to equipment in a little bit. I promise. I will even give you pictures. I promise. When the kids come to meet, And by the way, there will be another broadcast like this that will happen soon that will go over types of meats like blue, red, white meats and time standards and that sort of deal, to help folks who aren't familiar with that stuff to kind of navigate that and figure that out. So that is coming up. I don't know, I don't have a date and time yet for it, but an email will go out about that. So a bunch of you have been asking about that, and asking specifically for a broadcast about that. That broadcast could go on for 3 hours. We will bridge it down to an hour and get some guests on so that it's not just me yammering on to all of you. And we'll make that happen as quickly as possible so that we can get that up for all of you. When the kids are coming to meets, they should be packed for the meet the night before the meet. They know what they should pack, but of course they're going to be looking to you for help. They're probably not doing their own laundry. They're probably not, you know, reaching around for their towels, you know, that kind of stuff. But they should be participating, and they're in charge of their stuff once again. So they should be making sure that the right stuff is in the right place. We go over that at practice. We have a lot of meetings before meets just to sort of review what they should be bringing to meets. Shoes, socks, you know, extra pairs of socks, towels, enough towels for, you know, one for each event plus warm up, 2 pairs of goggles, 2 caps, at very least, a parka or a jacket with pockets, you know, various and sundry things to drink and eat. We go over, you know, things that are good for them to eat and drink. We go over, you know, what the weather might be like, and so what they ought to bring in terms of skin protection, you know, all that kind of good stuff. And hopefully they're bringing that home to you and saying, hey, this is, you know, what I need to put in my bag, and this is what I need to bring in the cooler, or this is what I need to bring to drink. Do we have any of this? That kind of thing. The more that they can participate in all of that, the better. One, that helps you all operate as a team, but 2, again, it helps with that communication. It helps them all be a part of their own swimming, and it also gets you involved in what it is that we're doing and makes sure that we're all on the same page. We're kind of a nice little triangle, the coaches, the parents, and the kids. And without that triangle all being on the same page, we are a mess. We have no magic. But if we have that triangle, then we have the magic. So the more that we can all stay on the same page, the better. So they should be packing their own stuff the night before, not the morning of. They should be reviewing their events with you all the week before the meet. And I do tell them this. I do talk to them about this. I know most of them aren't logging on to your ZAP accounts on their own. That's totally fine. But if they can nag you a little bit and get on and see what it is that they're swimming, that's great. And if they can go through that process with you so that they can see you log in, that's great too. That way they're not, you know, just thinking that it's magic, that, you know, oh, my events just popped out of the air, or I don't know where my dad got it, but he just got it somewhere. They know that it came from the website. They've seen the website. They know that the website exists, you know, that kind of deal. They can review that meet guide that Deanne sends out so once Deanne has sent out the meet guide, that's typically 2 or 3 days out from the meet. If they can sit down with you to read through it, that's great. That's fantastic family time, but also, again, making sure that everybody's on the same page. If they can get to sleep, and that's another thing that I talk to them all the time about, is making sure that they're getting to sleep, especially the night before a meet, so that they're getting the right rest. And they should be waking up. They should have an alarm, and they should be waking up, not having their parents drag them from their beds in the morning. Okay. And in fact, that's another one where if they come to the meet and they're 20 minutes late and I say, why are you so late? And they say, well, my mom didn't wake me up in the morning. What they will hear is, you know, it's not your mom's job. That's your job. Your job is to get yourself up on time. It's your mom's job to get you here in the car, but not, you know, your mom's job to get you up in the morning. In fact, you know, you should be getting your mom up. So they will hear that from us quite a lot. Again, that's not the expectation when they're first entering this group. By the time they finish up in this group, by the time they're a real leader in this group and they totally know what's going on, I'll probably expect that from them, actually. Yeah. In terms of parent expectations in this group, and I'm just going to check that chat. Okay, still nothing. In terms of parent expectations, what we're looking for from you all are some incredibly important things. We're looking for you to help keep the kids accountable. We're looking for you to help the kids learn how to communicate. We're looking for you to help the kids learn how to fail and how to make mistakes and then cope with the consequences. We're also looking for you to be your kid's biggest fan and best support. We're also counting on you to ask when something doesn't add up or something doesn't sound quite right, or when you have any kind of question whatsoever. So let me go over some of that, and then I'm going to go over equipment, and then I'm probably going to be done unless there are questions in the chat. Helping to keep the kids accountable is all the stuff that I've been talking about, the bringing of equipment, the carrying their own equipment, that kind of stuff. They're going to need help. They're children. They're small. They're going to forget things. They're going to, they're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. They're supposed to. It's important that we're helping them along, that we're reminding them, that we're showing them how things are done, whatever it is, and then that we're allowing them to do it and learn how, and also so that they can screw up. I can't stress this enough. It's really important that they screw up. It's important that they get DQ'd. It's important that they miss an event. It's important that they forget their equipment. It's important that they miss a practice. All of those things are important because they need to hear what happens when that happens. And they need to hear, they need to see, they need to have that experience. The best way that we learn is by screwing it up and then seeing what happens when we screw it up. The best way that we can learn coping skills is by learning that we are going to live after we screw something up. That the sun is going to come out tomorrow, that nobody's going to hate us, that it's going to be okay. This is not rocket surgery. It is not surgery. They are not removing, a liver, and it's okay. It's okay for them to drop their bag on their way in and, and totally forget it or lose it or whatever it is. It's not the same thing as, removing the kidney instead of the liver. They should figure out what it's like to make those mistakes. They should figure out which mistakes are really important not to make again. They should figure out which mistakes are not that big of a deal, not the end of the world, which mistakes they can live with making, which mistakes they can't live with making. And all of those are that can't happen without you. It's absolutely key, and you are a key person in that whole situation there. And the greatest thing that our parents do is allow their kids to slip and fall once in a while, or to drop the bag once in a while and see what happens. And then to be there for the hug, and to be there and say, God, I just love watching you swim. I'm sorry about that DQ, but God, that freestyle was pretty. Whatever it was, and whatever your kids are doing, they know that you are there for them, that you love them, and that you love seeing them do whatever it is that they love doing. So helping them to communicate, showing them that, you know, hey, this is how, there are many ways to communicate. This is how you talk to your coach. This is how you text your coach. This is how you email your coach. This is how we get emails from your coach. This is what the website looks like. This is what a broadcast looks like. This is, you know, this is how we talk to adults. This is how we talk to our friends. All of those things are ways that our kids learn. We are constantly, as their coaches, talking to them about how we talk to each other and what messages our behavior sends. You know, all that kind of stuff is all about communication. And we are talking nonstop about it. And we know that you are all talking to them nonstop about it as well at home. In terms of being there to watch and support and cheer, that's the greatest thing in the world. And it's not something that we as their coaches can do. You are the only ones who can do that. You're the only ones who can say, I'm going to be right here when you finish up, and I just love watching you swim, and I just love you, and I just think this is just great. Go get them. The coaches can be pretty critical, and we can hold them to whatever their race plan is, whatever that may be. We can sort of hold them to what it is that they've been practicing every day in practice. We cannot say, okay, love you, sweetie. Go get them. I just love watching you swim. We're going to hold them accountable for a whole different set of behaviors, because that's our role. Your role is a whole different thing. They love you a whole lot more than they love us, and that's how it should be. And that's the greatest thing that you can give to them in terms of their meets and in terms of their practices is your support and your love. And you know, if there's ever a time when you're super frustrated or when you're not totally sure, you know, I just had a mom ask, you know, hey, can you do a broadcast on parent anxiety and how we control that so that we don't send our kids over the edge at meet? We'll be doing that as well. That's an upcoming broadcast as well. That'll probably be in 2 weeks. But if you have any questions like that, please don't ever hesitate to ask. Coping mechanisms are kind of my bag. The other thing that I mentioned was asking when something doesn't sound right, or when something doesn't quite add up, or just when you have a question. All of the coaches are here all the time and are ready to answer questions at any time from you, via email, via text. The reason that we have started doing these broadcasts is because there are 3 of us on deck and there's 160 kids, and we all have at least 2 groups that we're training, and it's really, really difficult for us to talk when we're on deck. It's just hard, and we miss that, all of us. We really miss that, and we don't like it, and so we're trying to find other ways to figure out how to have some time with you all, and how to have more dialogue with everybody. And it's so important that we're available to you, so that when you have a question, you're getting the right answer, rather than just kind of trying to look around and then somebody else makes something up and, you know, wings it. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Furthermore, if your swimmer comes home and says something that sounds really weird, or that sounds off-putting, or that makes you uncomfortable, I want to know about it right away. That could be anything from, yeah, you know, Shari yelled at us today and she said a lot of really bad words, or yeah, you know, Bobby Sue threw a wrench at my face and hit me right here, or, you know, whatever. We had to do 200 push-ups today, and if we screwed up, we had to start over. You know, weird things like that don't quite add up, or that you're not totally sure, that sound a little unreasonable, or that sound strange, or like, oh, I didn't hear something from Shari. Anything like that, please drop me an email, drop me a text, call me. that's what I'm here for. Wires get crossed. Other times things are difficult, but they're not severe as they sound. Or I have said something and it has been totally misunderstood, and I need to know about it because I need to clarify, and I need to make sure everybody's on the same page. So again, with that triangle, the coaches, the kids, the parents, it's really, really helpful when we're all on the same page and when we're all thinking the same thing. That leads me to equipment, and I'm gonna take a risk and hope that to with you all and not totally screw it up. So I'm hoping this works. Okay. It worked. No, it didn't. Oh, yes, it did. Okay. Okay, so there are 4 items that the kids need if they're in this group. The first one is a set of Z2s. Those are what I refer to as fins. They are a very specific type of fins. They are made by the company Finis. This is what they look like. They come in a bunch of different sizes. They look very strange. We use these fins for a very specific reason. One, they really force your ankles to work very hard, and they force a lot of ankle flexibility. But 2, they're also safe to use during breaststroke, and so it's the only fin that's around that's safe to use during breaststroke. So we use them quite a bit. It's the only fin that I will use in my group. Any other fin doesn't do what these fins do, and so the kids, if there is a swimmer in my group that doesn't have these fins and has some other type of fin, that's lovely for them, but they're not getting the same thing. And we do have a couple of kids who still don't have these fins. They have some other fin, like a longer fin, which is lovely, but those fins make you go way, way faster. And so they rarely are able to swim with the group when they're wearing those fins because they are swimming rings around the rest of the group. Plus they aren't able to do any breaststroke work with them on, and there are a couple of other things that those guys don't do. So if you don't have these yet, I highly recommend going and getting them as quickly as possible. They will use these in all of their other training groups. The next thing is a kickboard. The kickboard that they get should be a tombstone kickboard. Something like this Speedo one is great. Fantastic. Please, oh please, I beg of you, do not get something like this with holes in it, with like a weird shape, something that's flimsy. This one from Tier is actually great. You can't tell, but it's thick and it's hard. This one, no, please no, please no. And this is a teeny tiny one. Please don't get that. So, and all these, like this stuff down here, not okay. Like I will send this home. No. And this one over here too, not okay. So what we're looking for is just a plain tombstone style, just like this or like this, plain tombstone style kickboard. It should be hard. It should be adult. Unless your child is like tiny. I'm thinking like Julia's size, like tiny, or Trinity's size. But otherwise, it should be an adult kickboard. Again, they're going to use this in just about every training group on the team. So they'll use it forever. And the shape is incredibly important for my training groups. Incredibly important. They do not need a pull buoy or paddles in this group. They need a mesh bag. I don't care what kind of mesh bag it is. It would be great if it were team colors, but kids have all kinds of different stuff that they, whatever colors that they like or things that they want to do. Doesn't really matter to me as long as they know it's theirs and it holds all of their gear. So you don't want to buy one that's teeny tiny. You want to buy one that's relatively large. The other thing is, the mesh bags tend to peter out more than any other piece of equipment. The kids tend to drag them on the ground and they get holes, that kind of thing. However, if you can keep them in good condition, last, for years, and the kids will continue to put more and more equipment in them as they grow older and as they get into more advanced groups. As they grow older and grow into more advanced groups, they are gonna add the pulling gear. They are gonna add, another set of fins. They're gonna add a bunch of other stuff, plus more fluids. And then the last thing is a front load snorkel. I prefer the one that's by Arena. This makes it much bigger. If you can get the one by Arena, these are great. They're a lot more durable, I think, than the Finis ones we're finding. They come with a couple little things up on the top that our kids will not use, but can keep them and use them later when they're a little bit older. They come in very bright colors and are as affordable as I've ever seen, and they hold together very, very well. The one thing that I would suggest, let me see if I can get back here. The one thing, so two things. One, I would suggest getting all of these things from the swim guy who's down in Redondo Beach. He has all of these things, and you can go down there in a half an hour with your swimmer because you want to try the fins on. Grab all of your stuff and then be done. If you need replacement things and there is a meet coming up soon, like that weekend, then go ahead and wait for the meet and then grab the stuff at the meet. If the swim guy is going to be there, that's great. If the swim guy isn't going to be there, I would recommend, or if there isn't a meet coming up soon, then I would recommend going down to the swim guy. There was going to be something else that I was going to add there, and it was a brilliant little insight. Oh yeah. Please make sure that you put your swimmer's name on all of the equipment in something incredibly permanent. Nail polish, Sharpie, whatever. I don't care. Duct tape letters. I don't know. But please, oh please, make sure that your child's name is on all of the equipment, including the mesh bag. I can't tell you how many times we pick up equipment on the deck, left all the time, especially with our youngers, and especially now that it's getting dark. And it's absolutely key. If their name is on it, it's so easy. If their name isn't on it, it's going to go in that lost and found bin, and it's highly likely that somebody else is going to grab it and it's never going to be heard from again. I just had another swimmer come up to me today and say, hey, can I look in the shed for my, my 2 pieces of equipment? There's nothing in the shed. If it's not in the lost and found, it's probably not here. Is your name on it? No. Okay, so please, oh please, get the names on everything, and that goes for parkas, that goes for anything that the kids are going to take up to the pool area. Please, the names have got to go on everything. I think that about covers it. At least 4 of you have been watching, and I have no comments in. And I'm going to check my nope. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all so very much for watching. If this brings up any questions for you, please don't hesitate to ask me on deck anytime. My email address is twidjr. It's twidjr@gmail.com. twidjr@gmail.com. Twid is my dad. And you've all got my phone number, so you're welcome to text. You're welcome to call at any time. Please not after 10. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.